Leadership confidence is built through preparation, not personality. The pressure exposes what preparation did not develop. Resilience is not avoiding pressure. It's learning how to lead through it. That strong leaders are not people who never struggle. They're the people who learn how to stay grounded, how to keep growing and continue leading well, even when leadership becomes difficult. You're listening to the Elevate Your Call to Service podcast.
Here, law enforcement leaders gain practical tools to lead proactively in a reactive profession so they can communicate clearly, strengthen internal trust, and stay grounded in their call to serve.
I'm Mike McIntosh, a retired sheriff and current division chief with nearly 4 decades in law enforcement leadership.
And I'm Cathy McIntosh, a business and branding strategist and longtime law enforcement wife. I focus on the human side of leadership, communication, identity, and the internal dynamics that impact performance and trust across an organization.
Together, we combine real-world command experience with clear, actionable leadership conversations.
So you can lead with intention, build stronger teams, and elevate your call to service. Welcome back to the Elevate Your Call to Service podcast. As we have been preparing for this episode, I've been reflecting, and I had one of those rough kind of weeks where my confidence and my resilience were hardcore tested. My business is mostly online, and in an online world, those kinds of things happen sometimes. People say things from behind a screen that they would never, ever say to your face. And we are tested when things get difficult. And that goes for leadership too. We don't prove ourselves when everything's going well or when everyone agrees with us or when our mission is easy. Our leadership gets tested when pressure increases, when criticism becomes personal, when decisions become harder, and responsibility that we carry becomes weighty and even heavier. And that's why resilience and confidence matter so much.
Yeah, confidence, it isn't something that just suddenly appears because somebody is now thrust into a leadership position or they're leading a team. And just like confidence, resilience isn't something that suddenly appears. Those things are developed over time through experience, through mentorship, through reflection, in learning how to process difficult situations. Leadership confidence is built through preparation, not personality.
I will second that notion. Today, we are going to spend this episode talking about how leaders can be intentional about building resilience and confidence in future leaders before promotion. Some of these tips will be available to use to build our own confidence and resilience. But what we're talking about here is how do we help our future leaders in an organization start to develop these skills before they're promoted, not after they start struggling or running into challenges, not after they fall apart, but before all of that pressure fully rests on their shoulders.
Yeah, that's the perfect time to do it, right? But before that becomes something that they now have to walk through. Because future leaders don't need less pressure. They need to be better prepared for pressure.
Before it happens and as it happens, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to me from your wealth of experience and all of the things that you've handled. What do you see is the definition of something like real leadership confidence?
Yeah, confidence is not personality or ego. It comes from that preparation and it comes from experience. Leaders can be uncertain about the next step, about the actions that they're going to take, but it doesn't mean that they can't be confident. So confidence grows through responsibility. It's worth repeating that leadership confidence is built through preparation and not personality. I would argue that confidence is not an emotion. Confidence is trust in your ability to handle what comes next. That trust may create feelings, but confidence itself isn't the feeling. So let's look at a couple of examples. You can feel afraid, but still be confident. You can feel uncertain and still be confident. You can maybe even be nervous, but still be confident. The absence of fear is not confidence. The willingness to move forward despite fear often reflects confidence.
So it's a lot like courage in that respect, right?
Absolutely. So confidence is not optimism, it's not motivation, it's not enthusiasm or charisma or personality, and we've also said confidence is not ego. Those things often get mistaken for confidence, and some very confident leaders are quiet. And I'm sure that each and every one of you have probably seen some very insecure leaders appear extremely confident.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence is trust in your preparation, your judgment, and the ability to respond when things don't go according to plan. And that's why confidence grows from that experience, and it grows from preparation. Confidence is earned evidence that you can handle difficult things. Every difficult conversation, every tough decision, mistakes processed well, challenges overcome. This adds evidence. And eventually, a leader starts thinking, I've handled difficult things before. I can handle this too. That's what we're talking about. That's confidence.
Absolutely. That's such a good description. So, future leaders, people who are aspiring leaders, can start to lose their confidence. Their confidence can be shaken. Why does that happen? How do you see that occurring?
Yeah, when those leadership pressures, when they start to come in, those leadership pressures are different than operational pressures. And a lot of times we've dealt with operational pressures,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I equate more to kind of the tactical side of things, kind of the day-to-day job responsibilities that you have. But leadership pressures are different. The expectations and visibility increase when you're in that leadership role, and the preparation gaps get exposed. The pressure exposes what preparation did not develop.
That's good. That's really good. What then also is resilience? How does that look in a leadership position?
Well, I will tell you that it's not toughness. Resilience is not toughness. It's the ability to recover and to continue leading. We all know that adversity is a part of leadership and that leaders must stay grounded under pressure. Resilience is not avoiding pressure. Resilience is not avoiding pressure. It's learning how to lead through it.
Mm-hmm. And in law enforcement, especially, I feel like resilience can often get confused with, well, just suck it up and keep going.
That's that is not resilience. That's often what we would call avoidance. And avoidance has a way of showing up later.
That's for sure.
Resilience is that ability to recover, to adapt, and to continue moving forward even after adversity. Resilient leaders absolutely experience adversity, but they don't stay there.
So confidence and resilience are two entirely different things. Confidence might be wondering, can I handle this? Or knowing that, yes, you can handle this. Resilience would be more, can I recover from this? Can I bounce back after I handle the challenges of this? Confidence helps you step into a challenge, and resilience helps you come back after the challenge knocks you down. And I think that that's what I experienced this week with some of the criticism that I received. And I had to muster up that confidence and remind myself of the experience that I had. that I am ready for this. I
Right.
am ready to move forward. That helps me step back into the challenge. And it was the resilience that helped me come back and go, okay, that was not pleasant, but it didn't break me. It fueled me.
Right.
And now I can step back in.
Yeah, that is such a great example. And I think that it's also important to know that both of those can be developed. And it's also important to know that we never arrive, right? We continually build into our confidence and we continually build into our resilience.
In our last episode, we talked a lot about mentorship, and I'm just wondering, how would a mentorship model start to help a future leader develop their confidence and their resilience? If both can be developed, how does a mentorship program help with that?
Quite honestly, I think it's critical to the success in building confidence and resilience in leaders. That structured mentoring helps future leaders process difficult situation, and mentors can provide that perspective that experience alone cannot. Mentorship turns challenges into those growth opportunities that we're looking for, that really starts to build into that confidence and that resilience. When you look at it, we're really kind of tying this back to those key leadership foundations, that communication, team building, wellness, and serving others well. Mentorship really helps future leaders process pressure before that pressure defines them.
So this is an important element to take care and to intentionally develop before a promotion and not after. So what does that look like, and how does that come about?
That's really a great question, because resilience is developed before the promotion and not after. Not to say that you're not going to continue to develop resilience, but to really understand what resilience is, if we can get that done and develop that before somebody gets promoted or before somebody is in one of those situations where it's critical to have resilience, the key really is to give future leaders responsibility and controlled pressure at the same time. And this is done through debrief setbacks, mistakes, and difficult situations, and being able to talk about those, to discuss those opportunities in what worked and what didn't work. Discuss opportunities that you've intentionally created for others. That resilience grows when leaders process pressure instead of pretending that it does not exist.
And that pressure processing comes through experience, right? You have to go through the pressure so that you can process the pressure.
You have to walk through it, yes.
So we've also talked a bit about organizational culture and how important that is to leadership and leadership standards. How does organizational culture affect the resilience or the confidence of a future leader?
I think that organizational culture affects resilience much more than I would say we give it credit for. It either strengthens resilience or weakens it. Future leaders must feel safe enough to learn and grow. Leadership culture can either strengthen resilience or quietly destroy it.
It's one or the other, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can even trickle down, I think, into specific units or specific teams. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I when you look at a unit, when you look at a division, when you look at an organization, each one of those will have a culture to it. And we want to make sure that we're building resilience and that we're building confidence into each one of those, that we're creating that type of culture.
So we like to make some distinction between mid-level leaders and what they can do and executive leaders and what they can do. So let's start with that mid-level leadership. What should they be doing? What can they be doing to start bolstering and building up the resilience and the confidence in their up and coming and aspiring leaders?
Yeah, they're such a key component to all of this. Those mid-level leaders have the greatest opportunity to develop future leaders because of where they're at in the organization. They're the ones that typically are working with our first line supervisors or our supervisors or leaders that may not even be formal leaders, but those informal leaders. And our mid-level leaders, they have that cadre of team members right there in front of them. They can create opportunities to lead before promotion and really help future leaders process pressure and responsibility. Our future leaders don't need less pressure. They need better preparation for pressure.
And that can come directly from the mid-level leaders.
Yeah. And in fact, I would submit to you that it should come from those mid-level leaders.
So can you give an example of how that would look in a patrol division?
Yeah. So most of your mid-level leaders in a patrol division are either going to be a lieutenant or a commander. And so they are overseeing different teams within their division. We currently call them watch commanders. They're the watch commanders. So they understand the dynamics of their teams and what their teams are made up of from both an experience level and a leadership level. They're also the ones that they have the direct reports to them at the sergeant level. So they get to start building those informal leaders. They get to also start building those sergeants and preparing them for the next level. They can take them under their wing and let them start to understand more about what those leadership roles in their or on their team actually entail. And they do that by allowing that future leader to just work alongside and to see some of the experiences at that level through their eyes.
And I think it can be like asking a question. So, how would you handle the situation? What kinds of things are you thinking about right now? How does this look from your perspective? And then kind of coach and guide them about how it looks from my perspective as a mid-level leader and
Right.
how I see things differently. And I have a different set of criteria. And I'm very concerned about maybe a victim, but I'm also concerned about how this is going to play out in court. And I'm concerned about how the DA is going to handle it. And so it's a bigger picture than maybe what a first line deputy might go through.
Right. Yeah. The impact on the organization, the impact on the community,
Mm-hmm.
the impact in the courtroom, like you said, it's different when you start looking at it through that mid-level leader's eyes, because their responsibilities are much different than what that informal leader or that first line supervisor is going to be experiencing.
Mm-hmm. And if we shift this now then to the executive leaders, what is it that they need to pay attention to in order to develop a culture of confidence and resilience?
Yeah, one of the things that we want to start first looking at is how future leaders respond to adversity. Really looking at how they handle feedback, how they handle conflict, and how they deal with setbacks. And just kind of going back to your example, that the week that you had, You could dwell in that. You could let that take you in the wrong direction. But I would submit to you the way that you dealt with that, you didn't allow that to be a setback. You demonstrated resilience and you demonstrated confidence in what it is that you do on a daily basis, even though there were things coming against you to try to chip away at that confidence and try to chip away at that resilience. The way that you deal with those things, the way that you deal with pressure, that's what we're really looking for in future leaders. Because if you can deal with that in a positive manner, it's going to challenge you. It's going to make you push in and lean into something a little bit more when your confidence is challenged. And that's what we want to see in the response when people come up against adversity, when people have maybe negative feedback or conflict.
And I kind of laugh at my little online criticism situation when police and deputies in the real world just come against that every single day, multiple times a day. So how you deal with that is critical.
It really is. And we also want to go back to and ask whether leadership development is intentional or accidental. So are we utilizing those experiences? Are we talking about those? Are we debriefing those so that we can build confidence and we can build resilience in each of those incidences? And we have to talk about it in order to build that. We want to make sure that our future leaders are growing through leadership foundations. And so we need to be looking at building trust and building teams and building that resilience and that confidence in each one of our employees.
And at the executive level, you don't necessarily see those aspiring leaders on a daily basis. So there would have to be some homework, some digging, some asking people about, how things go. And there's got to be some intentional ways to do
right
the groundwork to figure out what's true and what's not true, and how those aspiring leaders are handling these types of situations.
Yeah. And I will just tell you from the chair that I currently sit in as a division chief, I know different situations are going to create pressure or are going to challenge our teams, our deputies. And very often I will sit down with the commander that's over that team. And that's the mid-level leader that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And just encourage them to lean into that a little bit. And I will do that as well with some of the sergeants, depending upon what their role was in all of that. So with the executive oversight that I have, ensuring that the mid-level managers, that the commanders are leaning into that and using that as an opportunity to grow into and build confidence and resilience in our first line supervisors and our employees. That's the way that you see that happen within an organization. And again, you have to be paying attention and you have to be intentional in that, because if you are not, it's going to create a culture of its own. And you won't know necessarily until it's gotten to a point to where maybe it's too late. If your mid-level manager, your commander, consistently does that with his or her teams, and unfortunately, if that's not intentional, you see the results of that with people wanting out of those units, with people retiring, with people needing different types of services within the organization. It's a huge responsibility, but it's one that I think is critically important to the success of any organization or any team.
As we start to wrap up here today, we like to end with a challenge. So what's something that our listeners can practically do this week to help themselves or aspiring leaders start to build confidence and resilience?
I think it's to be intentional, and then start to think of a future leader that you have influence over. And when I say you have influence over, it may not necessarily be somebody on your team, but it may be somebody that you have a professional relationship with because you've worked with them at different times, and they use you as kind of a mentor. So go to that future leader and discuss something that maybe happened during the week or something that has recently happened, and ask, what leadership foundation was really being tested, and what made that difficult. And when you really start to dig in, now you're gonna ask, what did you learn? And what would you do differently next time?
Just a great one.
Just a few simple questions will really start to build into them that confidence and that resilience, because you're going to be there walking them through that process.
And I feel like it helps them process the situation instead of just reacting to it. They can get in the weeds and really start to look at it from different angles and self-evaluate.
Yeah, which is really important, especially if some of these things are new to them, because they may not know what the correct response that they're walking through might be, and that's where this conversation can really help reinforce kind of the way that they walk through that and help build that confidence. Because we know that confidence grows when leaders learn they can survive difficult leadership moments and keep leading well.
So good. Confidence and resilience are hard to build, and they're so quick to dissolve and to fall apart. They're not leadership traits that just magically appear after promotion, as you said. It's something that I tend to struggle with, and these are traits that are continually developed through preparation, sometimes through mentorship, sometimes through reflection and learning, sometimes through experience, sometimes just through talking it out, or even just having someone higher than you, a higher leader than you, just mention that they noticed something and give you a compliment or see something that you did well. Our aspiring leaders need real opportunities to build into those skills before all of the leadership pressure rests completely on their shoulders.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's also, strong leaders are not people who never struggle. It's really important that you understand that strong leaders are not people who never struggle. Mm-hmm. They're the people who learn how to stay grounded, how to keep growing and continue leading well, even when leadership becomes difficult. Because future leaders need more than encouragement. They need preparation, and they need perspective, and they need opportunities to process pressure. Future leaders do not need less pressure. They need better preparation for pressure. If today's episode added value, don't let it end here.
Share it with someone on your command staff or leadership team. because strong leadership isn't built in isolation.
And if you're ready to develop or become proactive leaders inside your organization,
Leaders who communicate clearly and strengthen internal trust,
then visit leleaders.com to learn more about our coaching programs, workshops, and keynotes.
and if the podcast has been helpful, we'd appreciate your 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Until next time, lead with clarity, lead with conviction, and elevate your call to service.